Okay, well, dude, they're a great source of protein. Mm. All right, you ready for Biblio projects? Just operate it is right now, I guess. It's very. I mean, I like it because it makes it easier to remember. Beep 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 beep. Watch this. Beep 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 beep.
Watch after
Beep.
it goes to one that
How to read design pattern. That was our last one. Yeah, we did design patterns. No, Tanakh Old Testament summary. Oh. You ready? Okay.
If you open a product,
Hey, Rue. Mm-hmm. I'm hungry for attention. Mm. Meh. Mm-hmm. All right, lunch while we wait. So you just decided you just eat the sandwich on the way back? Okay. Do you want to ask if Ethan would like to join for Bob projects? You want me to ask? waiting for my time to be getting glasses because everyone in my family has glasses besides me. Like I just know my time's coming.
Mom's always worn glasses. Ethan has worn glasses for a very long time. David, when he was around my age, he started to need glasses, and my dad is just now starting to need glasses. So I'm the only one in my family that doesn't have glasses, and I think it's having to change soon. I am having a headache every single.
You're starting to feel it.
It's so hard to drive, and especially in Portland because I can't read the exit signs fast enough because they're blurry. So I miss my exit unless I know where I'm going already. So it's fun.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I have an appointment.
The book of no words. Definitely.
I don't know how that down happened, but apologies for that. All right, so if you're just hopping in, we're just doing a quick little bio project and then game for a bit, then be it for Hollow Knight for today. So thank you for joining Shadow Wizard. Sorry for ears be blasted by static sound.
Protestant Christian Bible and look at the table of contents, you'll notice the first 3 quarters is a collection called the Old Testament. If you look at the list of books, you'll see it's made up of 39 smaller works that are grouped into 4 main sections. The first 5 are called the Pentateuch, followed by the historical books, then the poetic books, and finally the books of the prophets. Now that seems simple enough, but actually it's more complicated and way more interesting. This arrangement of the books in a single volume called the Old Testament is a later Christian tradition that developed after Jesus and the apostles. In ancient Jewish tradition, these works were all on separate scrolls and were conceived of as a unified 3-part collection called Tanakh. It's a Hebrew acronym for Torah, which means instruction, Nevi'im, which means prophets, and Ketuvim, which means writings. The Tanakh has the same books as the Protestant Old Testament, but they're arranged differently. The Torah corresponds to the Pentateuch, but the prophets consist of 4 historical narrative books and then the 15 works named after specific prophets. After this comes the writings, a diverse collection of poetic and narrative texts. Now this 3-part design is really, really old. It's referred to in ancient Jewish texts like the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Wisdom of Ben Sira, even Jesus of Nazareth mentioned it. And that's because this 3-part shape is woven into the compositional design of the scrolls themselves. If you pay attention, you'll discover that every scroll has been coordinated by means of cross-references that link each work into the larger 3-part collection. So, who put all these scrolls together? It was a long process. Some of the famous contributors are named, like Moses or David, but most of the authors remain anonymous. In the Bible, they're simply called scribes or the prophets. These scrolls took shape throughout Israel's history as generations of prophetic scribes collected earlier stories and poems, integrated them into larger compositions, and then eventually shaped all this material into the unified library of scrolls, the Tanakh. It's clear from texts in the Psalms and Prophets that these prophetic scribes believed that God's Spirit was guiding this whole process, so that through these human words, God speaks to his people. That's why they treasured these texts, studying and composing them into a unified collection. We don't know when precisely this process was finished, but it was somewhere in the last centuries before the time of Jesus. In its final shape, the Tanakh offers a prophetic interpretation of Israel's history that claims to reveal God's purposes to rescue the whole world. And while we can't do justice to the whole collection in one video, it's helpful to get an overview of what these scrolls are all about. The Torah begins with God creating and blessing a great piece of real estate, our very good world. And God entrusts it to a creature that reflects the divine image, human, or in Hebrew, Adam. God appoints humanity to rule the world as kings and queens of creation, and the question is whether they will trust God's wisdom to discern good and evil, or seize autonomy and define good and evil for themselves. But there's another creature with the humans, a mysterious snake. It's in rebellion against the Creator, and it dupes the humans to foolishly rebel against God's generosity. As a result, humanity is separated from its divine source of life and exiled from a garden of blessing to die in a dangerous wilderness. From there, humanity keeps spreading and redefining good and evil, and things go downhill fast. They build cities plagued by violence and oppression, all leading to the foundation of a city called Babylon, where people exalt themselves to the place of God. And now the basic plot conflict of the whole Bible is set. God wants to bless his world and rule it through humans. But now, humans are the problem. They're under the influence of evil, they're stupid and short-sighted, and headed for self-destruction. And this is all a setup for God's solution. We need a new kind of human. And so God promises that a new human will come who won't give in to the snake. In fact, he'll crush it and be crushed by it. From here, the story traces the promised lineage to a man and a woman, Abraham and Sarah. God entrusts them with the same divine blessing given to humanity on page 1. And so they leave Babylon to a new garden-like land that God promises to give his family. What follows is the story of Abraham's family. 3 generations, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, followed by 12 sons. And our hopes are high until we read their very dysfunctional and destructive family story. They lie, cheat, nearly kill each other, not to mention the sex scandals. But what did you expect after the garden story? They're humans. Eventually, Abraham's family ends up exiled down in Egypt. All these failures of Abraham's family form a dark background for the handful of bright moments in the story. God stays committed to these people. He even makes them an eternal promise called a covenant, that he will rescue and bless all humanity through them. How exactly isn't clear, but Abraham's family is at its best when they stop their selfish scheming and trust God's promise with radical faith. From here, the family grows. They end up enslaved in Egypt, and we're introduced to the Torah's other main character, Moses. God raises him up to rescue the Israelites and bring them to a mountain where they're all invited into a covenant relationship with God. They're given 613 terms of the relationship, guidelines for becoming new kinds of humans who will faithfully represent God to the world. And Moses brokers this whole deal because he's awesome. He's the ultimate prophet who speaks God's word to Israel. He's a priest who represents them before God, and he's even called a king, Israel's leader and deliverer in time of need. But as the Torah progresses, the Israelites fail big time. They violate the covenant, and even Moses rebels against God. In fact, the Torah ends with Moses predicting that Israel's failure will continue as they go back into the Promised Land, and they're going to end up in exile once again. But he has hope that God will fulfill his promise to rescue Israel. One day he will cover for their failures. He'll heal their selfish hearts so they can truly love God and live. And then Moses dies. Now, the final sentences of the Torah scroll are surprising. They zoom forward in time, and we hear from the prophetic scribes who shaped the Tanakh. They reflect back on the story of Moses from their vantage point, and they tell us that never again in Israel's history did a prophet like Moses arise. Man, I wish another prophet, priest, king like him would come along. And with that, we move into the Nevi'im. It has 2 sub-collections. First, the former prophets, 4 narrative works about Israel's story in the Promised Land, told from the later perspective of the prophets. Things start great with Joshua's leadership. We're told he's successful because he's just like Moses, and he meditates on Scripture day and night. But eventually, even Joshua fails, beginning Israel's long and violent descent into self-destruction, just like Moses and the garden story anticipated. These stories mostly focus on the failure of Israel's kings, prophets, and priests, how they lie, cheat, and kill each other, and worship idols. It's basically a longer, bloodier replay of the ancestors' failures. But there are some bright spots. God reaffirms his covenant promise to bless humanity through a new human. It will be a king from the line of David. And you get some stories about people like David or Solomon who have moments like Abraham when they trust God, but it never lasts. And wouldn't you know it, the family of Abraham ends up right where they began, conquered and exiled in Babylon. But remember, this whole story is being told from the later perspective of the prophets, and they know exile isn't the end. So they designed these stories of Israel's past as pointers to their future hope. When God does rescue his people out of Babylon, he'll send that new king who will be like Moses and David and Solomon were on their good days. In fact, this is what the second part of the Nevi'im, the latter prophets, is all about. There are 3 large and 12 short works connected to specific prophets. And this design intentionally recalls the 3 + 12 ancestors from Genesis whose stories of failure contained the seeds of future hope. These prophetic scrolls are loaded with cross-references that link back into the narrative of the Torah and the prophets, and they carry the story further. The job of Israel's prophets was to be like Moses, to accuse the old Israel of failure and corruption, and to warn them about the looming result, the great day of the Lord, which ended with defeat and exile in Babylon. But the prophets also promised that God had a purpose, to purify his people and recreate a new Israel who would be faithful like Abraham was. They'll live in a new covenant relationship with God under the reign of that promised ruler, who's described as a new Moses, but called by the name David. He will be the one to restore God's blessing to the entire world. The conclusion of the Nevi'im is just like the Torah. There's a note from the Tanakh's prophetic scribes. They reflect back over the whole story so far, and they urge readers to anticipate the arrival of a new Moses-like prophet, who they call Elijah. He will announce the arrival of Israel's God to purify and save his people. From here we move into the Tanakh's third and final sub-collection, the Ketuvim, a diverse collection of scrolls. Each one has been designed to link back into the key themes from the Torah and the prophets and develop them further through an elaborate tapestry of cross-references. For example, the Psalms scroll is introduced by 2 poems that are coordinated to the beginning of the Torah and the prophets. In the first psalm, we meet the righteous one, who's described as a new Joshua, a successful leader who meditates on the scriptures. He's like the king promised by Moses, and he's like the eternal tree of life in the Garden of Eden. Psalm 2 then identifies this figure. It's the promised king, the Son of God from the line of David, who's going to defeat evil among the nations and restore God's blessing to the world. And the rest of the Psalms scroll teaches God's people how to pray as they wait for this future hope. Then there are the wisdom scrolls that address some of the most difficult questions raised by the story of the Torah and the prophets. So Proverbs sounds like Moses in the Torah. Trust in God, be faithful and obedient, and you'll have peace and success. But then Ecclesiastes and Job reflect back on Israel's complicated history and say, yeah, we tried that, and it's not that simple. These 3 books carry on a profound conversation about what it means to live wisely in God's good and often confusing world. 2 of the last books of the Tanakh to be written make a crucial contribution. The Daniel scroll looks back over the long history of Israel's failure and suffering as a strange door of hope into a new future for the world. One day, that new human promised in the Torah and prophets will arrive. He's going to be trampled by humanity's animal-like inclinations towards evil, but then God will vindicate him and raise him up to rule the world in divine power. And finally, the Scroll of Chronicles retells the entire story of the Tanakh, from the beginning up to Israel's return from exile. The author focuses on God's promise to David of a future king who will reunite God's people in a new Jerusalem and bring divine blessing to the nations. The final lines of the Chronicles scroll have been coordinated with key texts from all over the Tanakh. They keep alive the hope of an ultimate return from exile, pointing to the arrival of an Israelite whose God is with him, that he may go up and restore the new Jerusalem, and that's how the story ends. The Tanakh is a majestically and intentionally designed collection of ancient Hebrew scrolls. These diverse texts from all periods of Israel's history have been woven together as a unified story about God's covenant promise to Israel and to all humanity. They were made for a lifetime's worth of reading and reflection, as these remarkable human words offer a divine word of wisdom and future hope that still speaks today.
All right. What do you? What was this? Oh, so. All right. Takeaways. Word. Lots of words. Okay. You know, it's whenever an overview is done, there's always much more that one can say. I'm very thankful, though, because the history of the Israelites, and they do it in such a beautiful theological way that we are given life and pointing towards the future king, who we know is Jesus. Anything you'd like to add, Ethan?
stood out to me is just being able to see the Hebrew word.
Wow. You're so obsessed with learning Hebrew.
Well, of course, if you want to get some really deep insight into the Bible,
No. I'm good.
Hebrew language is
No
crucial.
Hebrew for me. Thank you.
Anyway, Ketuvim is writings, but then I've been learning the other words that relate to writing in general, and so there's like Kotev, which is like if I were to write something, because I'm a male, and then if Elsie were to write something, it would be Kotevet. I'm not sure what the conjugation is for the plurals of that, but just seeing the root in that word, which is what is it? Kaf, Tav, and Bet. So KTV is the root word in there. So actually now seeing it in the names is cool.
Yeah.
It's fun language. Frustrating.
I wish that our Bibles were done in this order. Yeah, I really wish the First Testament was done in this order. Yeah. You're just looking for that. You're just looking for that 7, aren't you?
One thing I will point out about that number, though, is that is a traditional count through like the modern rabbinical Judaism. So it is tradition; it's not the actual number. Because some of the commandments get repeated, and so it's like, do those get counted?
Yeah.
Some of
It's
them
a-
might.
no.
Is that an actual commandment?
That-
So,
It's just easier to find whatever the most common, at least
but
rabbinic
it is
agreement.
traditionally believed to be 613.
Yeah.
Which is also the reason why there's a specific tying pattern for the ZT.
All right, let's go. I'm making my way out here. Make sure. Then you go and get my soul back and actually continue the main part. And also allow me to have more More soul power. No. Right. No, it's like right now, as I died, and so that can get fully focused, and that's like the thing where I can get that's the thing where I do all my spells from. So right now it's no, not money. Whenever I hit, do you see that getting full?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Ah, yes. Bunch of
It actually kind of looks like an alien. Wait, what? Why?
Hmm.
What?
Now you can't.
Darn you, Ethan!
I saw that, but I was like, eh. It also, like, you know, a lot of our images of aliens are influenced by actually very close-up photos of deep sea fish and insects. You know that?
Makes sense.
Yep, like I think from the movie Alien, like that image is literally just influenced by like a deep Mariana Trench fish.
Have you even reached the
No, we don't have anything that can handle the
We don't.
The pressure.
We don't have tungsten. Tungsten to handle that.
and also for humans to survive. And yeah, it's. I mean, we could just ask what's the deepest. What's the deepest that we'd be able to go underwater? Oh, that's. So the deepest point on Earth is 36,000 feet. Okay. How deep have we been able to get underwater with submarines? Oh. I guess so. I guess I'm wrong. We do have submarines have been able to get to the bottom. Oh. So yeah, my bad. I thought.
Wow.
I just assumed that since we
Man.
only know like what 5% of the ocean.
What?
What's the percentage that we know of the ocean? 5%. Yep.
Why have I been a 5%?
It's crazy that we know more about space
In ocean.
than our ocean. Yeah.
We know less about water than. Eddie.
It'll be really interesting to be a Yeti. Just be in this abomination. What did you say about my mom?
What?
You call me an abomination? That means whoever birthed me is also the abomination. So what did you say about my mom?
What is it? Oh, why is that that's like
Well, it's like kind of like
that's
a
like the Endermites from Minecraft.
it's like a bug area, you know. So makes sense. Oh, wrong area. Been there.
Papa nada.
Well, so after I get the next one, it'll give me one more life. Yeah, it's permanent.
Oh,
So
no.
that's one more max life.
Oh, it's That's why I got the money. Watch.
I have like reached a place where
Wait, you pour out an actual book. Go to your map.
oh yeah,
Pour out.
isn't that like a cool, like the guy actually, no, like this is the map.
No, you gotta read it. Oh, I apologize.
Yep. Let's see if he starts yelling at me.
It's like me.
It like fully like unlocks a mini boss where he gets enraged and you have to fight like him just charging at you.
No, Corey. Remember
Tupkin, Burgwus.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I should probably do this so I have a. If I die, I have a. All right, let's go to the Crystal Peaks. Huh. All right. Nope. Huh. I'm at the crystals. The crystals! It's always about the crystals! Every Final Fantasy game.
No. Chaos Emerald. That's a crystal.
Huh. There you go. Whee!
You take fall damage.
Oh, that's so funny. I went through all that, but like literally went all that extra part to be meet up right here. I totally forgot. Yep. All right.
Pick up her help. Money.
Ooh, money.
Money.
I'm curious. Oh. Guessing it's. You hit him, but like he just like, oh, that just that tickles.
No, that's a better.
He's like, oh, who's tickling? Who's tickling my back? And I go in the front. He's like, that's my face. But I'm too dumb to like attack back. Oh yeah, it'll definitely hurt if it ran in. All right. Oh, I got a new move, by the way. Oh,
Wasted it.
fine. Oh,
Look at it. Why don't you get eye frame? Wait, what? Oh, you could have done that.
oh yeah. Okay, man. I've already done all this. I don't need to do this. Like, I've already, like, see, I hit that lever, so I don't need to do this whole jump puzzle. Not jump puzzle, but, you know, get good. You know what?
You have a counter?
I could only use spells against them. Which now I've used my spell, so now I just have to dodge. Oh. Pfft. No. Oh.
Never crit hit.
513. Yep. All right. Thanks for hopping on. Now I'm quickly bouncing. I'll be back on probably later tonight, but it'll be some Yakuza. So catch you later, my friends.
That's peak Peak gaming over here.
Crystal Peak. That's peak gaming, man.
Oh my god.
All right. Peace of Keen G's be with you, brothers.